Hi, I'm Jennifer Tatro, and this is from Jenn. Today is, I guess, sort of my official intro video to tell you who I am and what I'm about, because I realized I never bothered to do that when I started the channel. I started my blog From Jenn in 2020, which was not the most auspicious time to start a blog about slow living. Back in May, when I started the blog, was when we were all at home making banana bread and patting ourselves on the back for how well we were adjusting to our new, slower quarantine lives. The last thing anybody needed back then was me getting online and writing about how to slow down our busy and overscheduled lives. And yet here we are 10 months later, and here I am starting a YouTube channel to talk about the same things, and now it maybe is a little bit more relevant as we start to come out of quarantine and life starts to speed back up to that pre-COVID pace. I know that here in Southern California, we've been a lot slower to reopen than a lot of other places, but even here, we're starting to feel a little bit better about getting out and doing things. No one in my family is back to the office or on campus yet, but even Disneyland is going to open at the end of next month, and I always told myself that that is the point when things will start to feel real. So what I'm going to do today is to tell you why slow living is my topic of choice, what exactly that means anyway when we talk about slow living, and also how you can start to integrate these ideas into your life, especially as life picks up speed over the next few months. So why should you listen to me about any of this stuff? Because I'm on the journey with you. And I have been for most of my life. When I first graduated from college, I took a job in the publishing industry, and I kind of thought that's the way my whole career would go. And at the time I was working as an editorial assistant for just over minimum wage, hourly pay. And I got to the end of my first year there, I had my performance review, and I realized what I really wanted more than more money and a raise at the end of that year was more time off and more time to do the things that I wanted to do with my life. So at the age of 21, I looked at my boss and I said, "Can I just have more vacation time instead of a raise?" And she gave it to me, and I've kind of been on that quest ever since. How can I have more time for me in my life to structure my life the way I want and do the things that I want to do with it, while still making a living and participating in society? A few years ago, when I first heard the term slow living, it just felt like coming home. What is slow living? To me, slow living is structuring your life in a way that honors and values your time. It's not about becoming a Luddite or doing everything the hardest and most old-fashioned way. Instead, it's about just not scheduling yourself into a corner, not filling your life up with things that don't matter and that you don't care about and are just notations on your calendar that you're going through as quickly and efficiently as possible. On this channel and over on my blog, fromjenn.com, I emphasize what I call practical slow living. And by that, I mean slowing down your life, but in a way that you can do when you still live in a city or have a job or have kids. Because I know that not all of us can move to Provence and have 3-hour meals every lunchtime and spend our afternoons leisurely reading a novel. That's not life for most of us, but there are things that we can do every single day to make our life slower and more fulfilling. And how are you supposed to do that? I have broken it down into kind of 3, maybe 4 categories. The first one is mindfulness, and you'll find that I write and talk a lot about mindfulness. Mindfulness just means being aware of the moment, being aware of the actions that you're taking, being aware of the repercussions of those actions. The way that you practice mindfulness is with meditation, and I do that. That's a part of my life, and I write about it a lot. But meditation is just really the practice that leads to mindfulness in your everyday life, which is the real benefit. It changes how you approach your day-to-day, and suddenly the smallest things have more value. And that's really what I mean by slowing down. It's valuing those smallest of moments and really appreciate them for what they bring to your daily routine. The second thing that I talk a lot about is sustainability, and that's because I really believe that we cannot afford to live a life that's not sustainable. It's in the definition of the word. Sustainability means able to be sustained. And I mean personally as well as globally. If you are structuring your life in a way where you don't have any time with your family, you don't have any time for your hobbies, you don't have any time to enjoy the fruits of your labors, is that really sustainable for you long term? But I also mean sustainability globally. One of the things that slowing down and thinking about the impact of our actions can bring is that we tread more lightly on the earth, and we have more respect for the people around the world who participate in our global economy and make our lifestyles possible. The third pillar in practical slow living is creativity. Back when I was regularly doing craft shows, a lot of women would come up to me and look at the things I'd made and hold them in their hands, and they'd say, "Oh, you're so creative. I do not have a creative bone in my body." And I absolutely don't believe that. I believe that everyone is creative in some way, and I think that making space for creativity makes you a happier person. It enriches your life. It enriches all of our lives because we are able to partake in the things that you create. So that's really important to me, is finding ways to make that space and to nurture creativity in yourself and others. So that's a really important part of slow living to me. And finally, the last part of my idea of practical slow living is not going to sound practical at all, but it's what I refer to as magic. Magic is the end result. I use the word magic because I think it's sort of an indescribable quality, but there's something that happens when you're really in that mindfulness zone or that creativity zone that changes your life. And maybe not your whole life, maybe it just changes the moment that you're in. But it's really an amazing feeling and an ephemeral feeling, and I think it's something that we all want a bit more of in our life. So I haven't written about magic as I see it a lot, but it's something that's always on my mind. How do we capture that magic in our lives? How do we capture that feeling of being in flow, that feeling of being really connected to another person, the feeling of creating something amazing? And I think that all of these other pillars, the creativity, the sustainability, the mindfulness, play into that end result of magic. So this hasn't exactly been my autobiography, and I'm sure that you will find out a lot more about me as this channel continues, or if you've read my blog or support me on Patreon. But hopefully it's at least an introduction to my approach towards life and my approach towards my creative work. If there's anything you wondered about me or any questions you have about the things I've said in that video, please feel free to ask me down in the comments. I would love to get to know all of you better too. You can also find out more about me at my blog, that's fromjenn.com. Visit me on Instagram at from_Jenn, or support me on Patreon, where I post as regularly as I do in the regular blog. That's from Jenn on Patreon. If you are over on my website, I also have a newsletter. So all of those things come together there. And if you don't want to miss anything, just sign up for the newsletter and I'll send you a monthly email with everything I've put out in the past month. Until next time, I am wishing you love and joy and all of those good things, and I can't wait to talk to you again.